Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is Straight Out of Boston, and today back for episode number 6 of my Boston Red Sox Out of the Park Baseball 17 series. So, after the last episode in which we lost in Game 6 of the World Series, falling to the Washington Nationals 6-2, we advanced to the offseason, and I accidentally did not get the footage for the first couple weeks of the offseason, so we went through a bit of the re-signing phase here, taking a look at some of the contract extensions we handed out. I didn't give out long-term extensions to any of these guys. Bogarts, because he is a Scott Boras client in real life, it is very unlikely that he takes anything below market value when he hits free agency, so I wanted to keep that realistic in that aspect. It would be very unrealistic to sign him to an extension because of who represents him. Robbie Ross I decided to bring back because he actually was pretty solid last year, 3.21 ERA. And with the way our roster stands now, definitely our number one left-handed option out of the bullpen. Heading into 2016, which is something I'd probably like to improve on. But anyway, Jackie Bradley, Trevor Bauer, also guys who got one-year extensions. And Tyson Ross, the final guy who got a one-year extension, he is going to be a free agent in a year. And I could have given him a contract, around $16-17 million a year, not including, of course, his fifth and final year of, or I guess it's his sixth and final year of team control. But into his free agency years, we could have gotten him about $16-17 million a year. And he was very good in the second half last year after we picked him up, but I decided I did not want to jump the gun and extend him too early. I'm going to wait for him to play out the year so see how he does with that second year in the AL East. So you can see there, Dustin Pedroia, Mookie Betts won Gold Gloves. Blake Wells was the manager of the year. David Ortiz also retired. I forced him to retire to keep that realistic. No contract extension for him. So that opens up the DH spot in our lineup. We're going to move Pablo Sandoval to DH this year and put Yoan Moncada as the full-time third baseman. We could have moved him to left field as we're looking for a new left fielder as well, but we've still got Charlie Blackmon and Chris Young as an option in left field. So I wanted to move Sandoval for James Shields if possible, but the Padres were having none of it. Shields really not that much better of an option than Sandoval anyway, but still, I definitely would have done that move if I could have. Hanley is a guy who I think might have actually retained some value after last season. Had a decent little year, had his OPS up over 800, WAR over 2, and was kind of just solid at first base, nothing spectacular. So he might have some value, especially if we can give up some money in that deal to maybe cut his AAV. But anyway, going back to some guys like Charlie Blackmon, Brock Holt, we're giving contract offers to, as well as Junichi Tozawa, who's an impending free agent. We gave him a 3-year, $16 million deal. And then we're going to pick up Clay Buchholz's $13.5 million team option with the intent on trading him. He is going to be a year away from free agency, even with picking up that team option, and I think it's the right time to move him. We have a lot of good young arms in our staff right now, or in our system, I should say, like Henry Owens, Edwin Escobar, Matt Barnes, and Trevor Bauer included, who I want to give a shot in the rotation next year. And I think Buchholz at this point is just kind of blocking those guys. He's really nothing more than a back-end guy. $13.5 million is a bit pricey for him as it is. I'm sure some team could find some use for him. He does have, a past of, elite performance at times, but maybe some team can buy in. So anyway, here's the deal I'm going to end up doing with Ramirez and Buchholz to the Houston Astros for Gilberto Celestino and Kyle Tucker. Give you guys a quick rundown on those two prospects. Celestino is a guy that our head scout likes a lot more than the OSA ratings, and Tucker is a guy that our head scout and the OSA ratings think is absolutely going to mash in the future. So they initially said no way, but all we had to do was throw in this one guy, Carlos Costa, a 23-year-old catcher down with the Gulf Coast Rookie League team right now. And I decided if that's what it's going to take to get it done, then we can give up that guy in a heartbeat, no problem. So we do that trade, and it does go through. So Hanley Ramirez and Clay Buchholz now are moved to the Houston Astros. We pick up 2 prospects in the deal, and then you can see Holt, Blackmon, and Tozawa all agreed to their extensions. So bringing back a majority of the core was kind of the theme of this offseason. I didn't really want to make a huge shakeup on this Major League roster. I like the way it stands, and I think when we integrate some of the new young guys like Sam Travis, who's going to be the full-time first baseman now with Hanley Ramirez gone, and Yoan Moncada, of course, the full-time third baseman, that's going to make us even better. So Greg Holland here is a guy that I saw was a free agent. He was only looking for a 1-year deal. I liked that a lot. A good buy low kind of move, getting good value on that contract. There's not a lot of risk in that, and he's got a very high ceiling. There were some other good relievers too, but I was kind of liking the way our bullpen stood at that point. Even giving the contract to Holland was kind of going to give us a bit of a roster crunch with our pitchers because we have so many young guys that I want to keep on the Major League roster next year, like Escobar, Owens, Matt Barnes included. So there were some other good relievers here. Here's an international one who was looking for only about a $3 million a year contract, but I decided ultimately to just target Holland and leave the rest of the bullpen as was. And the only starting pitcher in this free agency class I really liked was Brett Anderson, a guy who, again, a bit of an injury history like Clay Buchholz, but has shown signs of good performance or patterns of good performance in the past, has just had trouble staying on the field. He was, I liked the idea of getting him in a 1-year deal, especially with all the young arms kind of provided as depth. That way, if Anderson does get hurt, we do have good depth behind him, but we'll see if we can come back to him later. We also saw Steven Strasburg there, but his demands were just too high for us. $38 million million a year. He's going to end up settling for a little less than 30, but I'll just say it right now, we did not end up going after him because of that price tag. So taking a look at some of the other top free agents here, and I really wasn't liking a lot of the values on these contracts. That is something I always try to look for in free agency, of course, is getting the good value deals in free agency, and we just weren't finding them. That's why I was liking the move like a Greg Holland. But here was another one. I liked Steve Pearce. I wanted to bring in another right-handed bat off the bench to complement Charlie Blackmon in left field. We still have Chris Young under contract, but he did not perform too well last year. He was okay. I would say he wasn't great. And Pearce can play backup first base as well, so that is where his roster spot is going to come in handy. Now we have two right-handed bats off the bench when Blackmon is in there, so that way we have two options against left-handed pitching. And then here we got a trade offer, Victor Martinez for Rick Porcello and Martinez. This was kind of a bad contract for bad contract to kind of swap, but Martinez actually had a good year last year. He had a 3.6 wins above replacement and an OPS over 900, so I thought about pulling on the trigger at that. We might come back to that one. Rule 5 draft pass by, didn't make any selection, so I decided not to show anything from it. And there we go. We do end up getting Greg Holland and Steve Pearce at early January. They do sign on. So taking a look at the Hall of Fame now, Manny Ramirez does get in. He was the only one to get in, but he goes in on the first ballot, so congratulations to Manny. And now we're taking a look at Steven Strasburg here. He ended up signing with the San Francisco Giants, so that loaded rotation gets even more stacked now as Strasburg joins the mix at just under $30 million a year AAV. So Anderson's still out there in free agency, and with Anderson still out there, I decided to pull the trigger on this Porcello for Martinez deal. I think Martinez can help us at DH a little bit. Now we don't have to give playing time to Pablo Sandoval. Now we might be playing Sandoval on the bench, making a little less than $20 million a year. So that's kind of a bad look, but at the same time, I'd still rather get the production that V-Mark could bring to the table. So now looking at Anderson, I thought I could get him on a one-year deal, but he had some other offers at this point and wasn't looking for a one-year deal. He wanted multi-years. He wanted us to make a multi-year commitment, and I just did not feel safe doing that with his injury history. So he ended up shutting us out of negotiations after we would not budge from our one-year offers. So we're not going to get Brand Anderson. That's going to thin out our rotation a little bit. I was kind of counting on going after Anderson with, or when I made the Porcello move, I had the thought of getting Anderson in mind. So as it stands right now, we have both Henry Owens and Matt Barnes in the rotation, and that's something that I don't feel too confident about. But the good thing is, this is baseball, and baseball always has an active trade deadline, and there are always moves to be made in season, and that's why I don't feel too risky, or I don't feel like it is too much of a risky move to go into the year with some of our young guys, or some of those rotation slots slotted for our young guys, just because I feel like if those guys have high ceilings, then they could come up and provide that back end type of solidity in our rotation, and do it while costing us pennies, which is the most important part, then we should totally take advantage of that. So I think at this point it's going to look like we're probably going to need to trade for a starter in season if you're serious about making a World Series push. But as for now, taking a look at the opening day lineups and rotations here. So left field is the other questionable spot, I would say, in our lineup. We have Blackmon right there with Chris Young and Steve Pearce kind of in a three-way platoon. That's definitely a spot that we could be looking to upgrade at the deadline moving forward as well. I was looking at some trades for a guy like JD Martinez in the offseason, but just could not really find the right package. So the Red Sox projected to win 97 games this year according to the preseason predictions. That is a good sign. That means that the game thinks our team is rated pretty highly entering the season, and that gives me pretty good confidence that we are going to have a good year and hopefully, just hopefully, make it back to the World Series. But that is going to do it. Hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching, and I'm out. Peace.